Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our exclusive Global Leading Voices webinar campaign. We are delighted to have you join us here today. Please be informed that if you have any questions during the presentation, you may type them into the question box in your control panel. The presenter will answer your questions at the end of the presentation accordingly. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our presenter, who will begin shortly.
Hi everybody, my name is Scott Taylor. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Southern Cross Group International. So just want to say thank you to everybody that's obviously logged on today for the webinar, and obviously for anybody who is watching this afterwards. So I want to say thank you to Ardian and the team at PECB for giving me the opportunity to share this information with you. And the session today that I'm going to be stepping you through is 10 tips on how to become a successful security professional in 2019. What I thought I'd start with, just to give you a bit an overview of my background and experience, supposed to give you a bit of feel for that. So I've been 26 years, I've been active in the security, safety and risk mitigation fields. During that time as well, I've had quite an extensive experience with a range of security associations and also dealt with the industry regulators as well. So I'm internationally I'm certified with ASIS International. I've got my CPP. I've also been the former chairman for the ASIS New Wales Chapter and been a member of the New South Wales Police Advisory Council amongst other in areas of involvement. From the background as well, I suppose from my experience, I've started from an operational position, and since that time, over the 26 years, I've obviously expanded. As I've expanded my skills and knowledge, I've been involved in a number of different elements, doing training and consulting on a domestic and both an international basis. And I'm also actively involved in a fair few of the international councils, as you can see, such as the Hospitality, Entertainment and Tourism Council, Supply Chain Risk Management Security Council, and a range of the other industry standards committees as well. I'm also quite active at the national level here in Australia with the education facilities, about trying to help to shape and expand the security, and especially the security risk management and security awareness type courses as well, because I think that's a very important part in trying to give back. I'll speak a little bit further on about with the different councils and I suppose the reasons why I had that involvement, and also the benefit with those as well in regards to from an educational point of view, and also from a networking point of view, and how that obviously helps enhance the opportunities that you have within the industry that we're dealing with. So the first of the tips I thought that I'd discuss with this webinar is about people doing a full industry assessment. Some of the parts that occur when it comes to with the industry assessment is some people fall into the security industry for whatever reason. Other people, if it's I suppose a key focal point that they want to develop and expand their knowledge, their skills and contact network with. One of the things I highly recommend is to do a full industry assessment. And the reason I say that is, firstly, from the trends and opportunities within the industry. If I had to give you, I suppose, some of the things that, from my opinion, especially for the next 6 to 12 months, people within the industry that I think we should be noting as some of the key focal points. And I think that security professionals should be expanding and enhancing their skills and knowledge with. Probably a couple of those would be supply chain risk management. I think that during the industry changes and focal points, especially in the last sort of 18 to 24 months, supply chain risk management would be one. Crowd dynamics management and planning. I think that whole crowd science focal point as well. There's another point that I believe that there's some fantastic work getting put together in regards to new methodology, new skills, and I think it's a good opportunity for people to expand their horizons. Obviously, like you think from the target hardening with vehicle mitigation and other base principles, and then you've got the IT focus, and obviously everything from cloud security, social media security, and a range of other points. So for that assessment point of view, I think it's important for security professionals to work through the different industry opportunities that are out there, but also to do that personal review of your skill set as well as your interests. The reason that I recommend that, and I suppose getting together this bit of a Venn diagram as to where they truly intersect, is because different people, I suppose, have that different focal points and have their own journeys within the security industry. People can make very successful careers in each individual silo within the industry. So whether it's CCTV, access control, and the electronic security installation, or whether it be the security consulting piece, operational security, investigations, a range of those related elements. I think it's very good to have a clear vision as to which part of the industry that you wanted to be involved in. And the key part for that, I say, is to not rush the journey. So from my point of view, I started initially like in licensed premises in hotel, pub and club type security. So I spent the first 9 years of my life in there. Whilst it was something that I found quite satisfying and I suppose assisting from the operational point of view, as I started to spend more time within the industry, I realized from that holistic consulting type focal point was the main area for me. But I also realized for me to be able to achieve and be involved in that part of the industry, I needed to truly broaden my skill set. It was impossible for me to make an instant jump from what I was doing. So the other point, the lead on elements from doing the industry assessment is I suppose setting the goals for your industry focal point. Set that 6, 12 and 24 month type goal. I'll talk a little bit further during the webinar about that personal gap analysis and setting that point as well. So how you set your educational and development type journey within the security industry. I think there's so many opportunities and it's such a dynamic industry that we have, that's evolving on such a regular basis. I mean, the risk landscape is changing and evolving, and the security responses and solutions have to evolve in response to that. And with that comes some fantastic career opportunities. And so I think that's a great time for us within the industry to really obviously head down this path. The second point and the second tip, I think that I'm going to say as an industry trend where probably we don't spend enough time is really about expanding your network. Now, there's a couple of points for that. I mean, obviously, having the good network, it's not just about the external network that you have in regards to from the client base and about developing your marketing and business development opportunities, regardless of what type of area you're in within the industry. It's extremely important to have a good community of people outside your organization as well. And there's multiple reasons for that. I mean, your network's not just for the sales benefit. It's really about also expanding your knowledge network and your contact network. I've had specific examples where I'm doing some consulting services and it's been a unique type of client. So as a result of that, I've wanted to reach out to people within my network to ask some specific questions, to either question or to validate the thinking that I may have with regards to a specific client or a specific solution that I'm handling a response for. The benefit of organisations, obviously such as PECB that we with this webinar, but also like NCS4 and ASIS International, is that you have the ability to network with like-minded people, which is fantastic. So definitely like expanding your network, I think, is a key part about for being a professional when you're within this industry, because as I said, that questioning or validating your thinking as well. And there's multiple ways you're able to do that. I mean, industry associations, I already just mentioned a couple of those to you, such as ASIS International and NCS4, PECB here, but also just the general LinkedIn and security groups as well. I did dedicate part of my day every day for looking between the different groups, reviewing other people's thoughts and opinions as well, and sharing my opinions. The other point is part of being a professional, don't be shy or frightened to share your opinion and question other people's thinking as well, because that's how we learn. The other benefit, I suppose, of expanding your network as well is about that it expands and broadens your service offerings with what you're doing. So the benefit is over the time that I've spent within the industry, I can comfortably say that on a global scale, I have contacts throughout the globe on a variety of different elements within the security industry. So I'm able to give some information and liaise with on crowd control trends and what's happening like in the United States, or what's happening in regards to event type security and stadium security, like you're through elements and through sections of the Middle East, a range of points. So it's an important part, as I said, of being that professional. Expanding your network, as I said, not just for the opportunity from the sales and development point of view, But from the service delivery and from that knowledge, your part as well, I think is a very important part, and something that I believe on a global scale, a large portion of security professionals, I don't believe that they focus the time and effort for doing that. And I think it's definitely something that should change within our industry. So tip about with obviously with being a professional in the industry is actually being professional. And there's a couple of points I suppose that I want to mention for you with that. Obviously, you see the point number one I had there, being organised and being accountable. Now, when I say being accountable and I suppose having that professional attitude, this is what I feel quite strongly about. I'm a big believer in what they call the moment of truth principle. And what I mean with the moment of truth principle is that anytime anybody is liaising with your brand, and I'm going to say that for the individuals that have their own firms or organization, it's anytime they're obviously dealing with you, or anytime they're dealing with any representation of your organization, whether that be dealing with you from an email point of view, call point of view, meetings, social media communication that you put out in information. Every moment of truth needs to be a positive moment of truth that they have with the brand. The other point that I feel very, very strongly about, and you see I've noted down there, is that doctors have clients, not customers, and so do security professionals. When it comes to being professional and the way that I look at the people that are within our industry, if people have a legal concern or legal issue, they go to the legal professional, being lawyers. If people have a medical issue, they go to obviously doctors. If people have a security, risk mitigation concern or issue within the obviously scope of what we do, they come to their security professionals. It is a key position of trust that we have within the industry, regardless of the type of service within the industry that we deliver. From the frontline and operational point of view, during times of service, we have temporary custody and duty of care of people's most important assets, their families. If we're providing obviously that consulting piece, and whether it be from IT security or the electronic security installations for a range of others, we look after people's safety, mitigating those risks for them. So I think it's very important to understand the position of trust that we have, and ensure that we obviously give it its due care and the level of professionalism that's due with that position. So some of the other points, I suppose, with being professional, expanding on that, taking pride in your appearance for when you're dealing with people, be on time and not making excuses, within an industry. From a communication point of view, making sure that we're meeting our delivery expectations. The other point as well is for what I like to call praise hunting. Don't be a praise hunter. Part of the thing with our industry, sometimes you're going to be dealing with clients that are not going to be overly grateful and thankful in a range of others. So don't go hunting for praise and like always for that pump, that pat on the back. Part of being professional with their industry is you taking some pride as well on the fact that you've delivered the goods, you've delivered that service in a professional manner on time and exceeding expectations. So that's another part as well, I'd say, within our industry is not being that praise hunter. I'm a big believer as well about managing expectations. I mean, part of what we do and within the security industry is, and I'll touch on this a little bit more further on, is educating the people that we're dealing with. Some of the clients that we deal with have a paradigm as to where they feel their security, safety, or risk concerns are. And part of what we need to do is to educate them as to why they need our services. There's that phrase, you don't know what you don't know. And that's part of within our industry as well as being professional. Help manage that expectation with the client and get them to truly understand the reason why they need your services and what those services are. So definitely be accountable, be transparent, be organized as well. And that from that organizational piece is just a matter of making sure that you're meeting the promises that you make. That's obviously a key part of being a professional. So now I touched earlier on about for expanding on your network, and aside from expanding on your network as well, and especially regardless of what industry, what sector or what segment of the security industry that you find yourself in, some of the people that have rolled in, may be new to the industry, some may be obviously at the highest level of management. Regardless of the situation that we have within our industry, what your personal situation is, it's an industry that's ever evolving and there's continual learning and development opportunities. Webinars such as these, and I'm obviously like, and I'm an avid learner. I love to learn, obviously, like from my industry peers, and I do all I can, regularly reading books, regularly going through obviously the different groups and associations to try and find like new information, new best practice tips and methodologies. Part of that is, and for me to be able to put my hand on heart and know that I'm doing all I can to help identify, prioritize, and mitigate risks for my client, regardless of the type of work that I'm doing. For me to be able to do that, I need to be across obviously best practice information. I need to be across the new trends, new equipment that's getting utilized in your industry. And so part of that is on a continual basis, I do what I suppose I call a personal gap analysis. Now, what I mean by that personal gap analysis is mapping out what I say, which is the ask elements, within the industry and within our positions. That's the attitude, skills, and knowledge. Part of that includes what we're doing as well for making sure that how do we stay professional and motivated and driven, and also have that physical and mental health, well-being piece as well. That's another part that I suppose I'll expand on briefly with this within our industry. Sometimes in specific elements within the security industry, work unusual hours, definitely unusual environments. Some silos within our industry deal with people, whether it be for hospital and healthcare security or frontline event personnel, licensed premise personnel, and a range of others. We deal with people that are often affected by drugs, alcohol, emotion, and/or a combination of those circumstances. Our physical and mental well-being and making sure we've got the right elements in place as part of that personal review is very, very important and crucial. Not only for making sure you're delivering the right level of service, but for your own safety as well. So what I like to do for that gap analysis, I suppose, is to identify all the elements of that type of role or focal point that you're doing. Identify, from that attitude, skills, and knowledge point of view, what's necessary to make sure that I'm delivering best practice, with that client, especially mapped against, best practice standards within your area and even on a global scale, and do that bit of a self-assessment, with those. So this is what I do on a regular basis. The thing is being honest in the self-review and identifying that gap. So for example, some of the people I was giving some career advice to, a security professional who's doing some licensed premises type work. So where I started in the industry. So as an organization, he's delivering he has some guards, providing some guards there at those sites, some pubs, nightclubs, registered type clubs. The other point with his service is he identified that from reviewing with his client base and looking at his own personal skill set, his clients now are also after some information in regards to, well, how can CCTV be of benefit? How can we look at some crowd modeling and crowd dynamics management? And this person has not got that base skill. So part of the advice from a mentoring point of view is, I've said to round off your skill set. So be aware of the adjuncts and the add-ons to what the services that you're delivering. And either from the contact network point of view, be able to network and obviously liaise with organizations that can help round off your service offering, but continue to enhance your own learning and development, because rounding that off is very, very important. From my point of view, and I mentioned earlier in the piece with the webinar that I've delivered a large number of expert witness cases during those times, whether it be use of force situations or if there's been concerns or issues that have happened with a large security event, or a large music concert or sporting event. And for me to do that and to perform that type of work, because it's something I've got great interest in, it's something I find very, very rewarding, and I think it's something that can help really shape and reform part of our industry. Because in essence, what's happening is post a situation or event occurring, I'm being able to review the CCTV, the operational procedures, the risk management framework, all those parts to make sure that there was complete adherence to that, and to identify if the planning phase was handled effectively. What did we do to test and validate that? For me to be able to do that, and when I set the goal for being involved in that type of work, I had to do exactly this, a gap analysis, to make sure that I was across every individual element. So for example, if I was doing an expert witness case for a large music type concert or event, had to make sure that I'm aware of that, as I mentioned earlier, that crowd dynamics management and crowd flow. Had to be aware from the risk management plan and point of view, what would be on their risk register, risk treatment schedule. right down to what would be the actual briefing information that they're really in line with best practice should be giving to their personnel and guards. What are they doing to manage their incident management, a range of those sort of things. So there's a large benefit to making sure that you do that review and that gap analysis, and making sure you do what you can to close that knowledge gap. As I said, there's obviously many benefits in doing that. The other part from being professional is making sure that you're getting that regular feedback. And part of it with this, what did I say, bearing your throat to the wolf in some cases, but getting that feedback. Now, I'm also a very firm believer that we're all in essence in some way like computers. We've got a certain amount of mental currency to spend. Feedback from peers and industry professionals, and part of expanding on that network point of view, I think is crucial, because part of it is, don't get caught in the trap where you constantly, continually need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to the service provision, whether it be a consulting point of view or just from the individuals, the individual service delivery elements. So liaise with your industry peers, and that links back to the earlier point I said about building an effective network. It's something that, for whatever reason, and I'm going to say traditionally within the security industry, we don't do as well as we potentially could. Part of that may be for the privacy and thinking that if I'm developing a unique selling proposition, why would I want to be sharing information with others? And look, I'm obviously from the personal branding and marketing point of view and development point of view, completely understanding of that. But when regards to general elements and the support from the security endpoint point of view, that's how you question and validate you thinking that you're on the right path. I'm a massive believer in surrounding yourself with like-minded, enthusiastic people, and sharing and learning from each other. There is 100% more than enough work opportunities out there across every different segment within our industry and on a global scale, that our endpoint needs to be focusing on the end service delivery for our clients. What are we doing for making sure that we're keeping them safe and well? And so we owe it to ourselves, to our clients, and to the industry for sharing and working together to make sure that all boats lift together in regards to with service delivery. Yes, there needs to still be obviously that competitive edge. So I completely understand that. But part of it is we need to work together to make sure that we are continually supporting each other as our industry peers. I'm a massive, obviously, avid fan for with LinkedIn, as I've mentioned it a couple of times, and posted time for the ones that I suppose look me up on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to always share information and tips where I can with people that are on that self-development journey. And so part of that feedback and support and networking as well, I think, is a crucial part with our industry. How do we share unique elements and responses to individual risks and items and situations that occur to make sure that we learn and grow from it? The client feedback, and even within your own organization, that 360-degree feedback, I think is important as well. And that's on all elements, not just the knowledge point of view, but from the deliverable point of view. Are clients happy with the administrative elements and clarity and information? Are they happy with the delivery and regular communication review of incident material, or reviewing of incidents and what's occurring with their client site to make sure that, as a security professional, you're updating your practices and tasking on intelligence and a range of other things. The other part from the feedback point of view is that mapping piece against best practice, and just being aware as to where you go to find standards. Now, each different state, country has their own best practice standards, may have their own individual councils, industry best practice standards, ISO standards, a range of others. So being across that as well, I think, is very important for mapping and getting that feedback and mapping and adjusting your service delivery against those standards, just to make sure you're in line with industry best practice standard. So the next tip that I wanted to cover off is about finding and being a mentor. This is another one that I think is an underestimated element within our industry. It's something that I suppose about 9 to 10 years ago, I found fantastic benefit in on multiple levels. I found incredibly rewarding within our industry. And as I said, because that risk landscape is constantly evolving and changing, and the fact that within our industry, there's a range of people that are at different elements and different silos within our industry in regards to what they deliver. Being able to share those experiences from a mentor point of view and help people, I suppose, to avoid making the early mistakes that you or we may have made within our careers, I think is incredibly rewarding. It's also part of with that developing that network as well. some of the people that I've mentored, over the last 20 years that have gone through, that have started as initial security guards or security installers, and now people that have taken leading security decision-making roles within large organizations. So from the commercial point of view, there's been great commercial benefits because of the fact that I suppose the path that I've helped support them on has ended up turning full circle with them being able to work with me on commercial opportunities. The other part from the mentoring point of view is, as I said, I found that very rewarding. It also helps to enhance and develop your interpersonal and also your coaching skills as well. So there's lots of benefits with that. But as I said, from that networking point of view, and I suppose re-energizing you within the industry, I think it's something that's very, very valuable. The other part as well is, as you may have gathered from my feedback and discussions, I continually try to do things to help put me outside my comfort zone and to obviously to continue that focus on that research and validating of information path. Delivering webinars such as these, being involved in the industry councils, these sort of things as well. Like if I'm going to be delivering advice to a range of clients or to industry peers and being involved in the industry associations as well, nobody wants to make mistakes, and I suppose nobody wants to stand up in front of people and giving advice if they're not confident in the material that they're putting forward. So part of what I do is I have that commitment where I make sure that I continually set part of my day every single day towards education and development. That can be the 30 minutes that I spend every morning just reading like your various news, RSS feeds, LinkedIn groups and a range of others, to the time that I dedicate every day on making sure that I'm reading some type of security text or book on enhancing my knowledge and awareness. So there's a range of parts about like that. For example, conflict identification and mitigation techniques and standards is a focal point with mine. And so as a result of that, I'm reading like a large amount of material from a range of people on how do we enhance situational awareness, how do we improve conflict identification and mitigation skills, so we can share this information to first responders, police, ambulance, security, people that are in the front line. So I dedicate, especially while that's a focal point of mine, time every day for reading new material with that. So that way I'm enhancing my awareness, refining my skills. Also, as I've said regularly through the webinar, I'm also questioning and validating my own thinking to make sure that I'm on the right path there. So part of linking that back to being a mentor is, as I said, if you're going to be providing some support and some development to people within the industry, is that you've got to keep your knowledge fresh and make sure that you're across current industry standards. But that mentoring piece is also about a range of other things, not just about the set techniques and individual skill and knowledge base. How do you deal with clients? How do you manage expectations with clients as well with that service delivery model? How do you provide security advice to a client whilst having them not feel that they are negligent in their duties just because of the fact that they haven't been aware or they don't view things through the same type of security eyes that you have? So that's another point as well. I'll touch on that a little bit towards the end of the webinar about how you manage that client relationship as a professional and how do you make sure that you're on the right path with the advice that you're giving them as well. So I'll expand on that a little bit further on. Tip 7 is about positioning yourself. Now, part of that is like you're being from the branding point of view. At its most base level for people within our industry, yes, there is specific people within our industry that I'm going to say, for want of a better phrase, are the cut and paste LinkedIn professional. So they've managed their personal branding by the fact that they will just go through various news sites and RSS feeds, and they will just cut and paste the link in the document and put that on and share on the LinkedIn page, just some information I thought that you'd be across and aware of. Firstly, has that worked for them? Yeah, definitely, because the fact is, I suppose, if you've done work like identifying the right network, getting the information from what RSS feeds and security tips, and if you're gathering, collating, and sharing some of that information, then to specific people, be it clients, people within the contact network, yes, you've positioned yourself as being a bit of a security conduit or security expert for them. But I think we owe it to people to expand and go a little bit further than being just that cut and paste. So part of with that is, if there's information that's out there, white papers and articles and a range of others, yeah, definitely take some time to reviewing those, but give some thoughtful commentary on those. And the other part is publish your own. From my point of view, I'd identified that there was a bit of a gap within the Australian market for supply chain security risk management. I believe that there was some identification of supply chain nodes that organizations just didn't have thorough practices with. So as part of that gap analysis, as part of that expanding my network, I made sure I worked and developed to expand my learning within this area. I joined the supply chain security transport risk management and transport security councils, and then spent an 18-month period of really developing and enhancing my knowledge and awareness from with that. That culminated with me writing a number of articles on my findings and on my thoughts and opinions, where I'd reviewed the information, mapped that against with client base, and put forward, I suppose, my understanding and my expectations as to how security professionals can help identify the supply chain nodes, and how we can do the mapping piece and advisory piece to make sure that we're closing off any of the concerns and risks the potential clients may have. So part of with that, because I identified that gap, and I suppose this links to some of the earlier tips. I expanded my knowledge and awareness, questioned and validated my thinking, and put my thoughts out there through white papers and various articles as well, and got some feedback from with that. So part of that then is that if people, I suppose, look at my background, and I've shared some of those of LinkedIn as well, is that if people look at my LinkedIn page, if they look through and check through my background, there's transparent information that I have put out there to show about me being, for want of a better phrase, a security expert. And so that's how I've helped position and brand myself. I've made sure that I've been very, very active within the industry associations. But one of the things is I can say that there is no shortcuts to this. There's no shortcuts like it's working through without positioning yourself. There is the hard work in doing that. There is the work for reviewing this literature and information, and then adding your thoughts and opinions on with doing that, for getting out and seeking other people's things and expanding that network. It takes commitment for doing that. But part of, from a professional point of view, if we truly want to focus ourselves on being security professionals, then we need to have that commitment. So what I'd recommend from that positioning yourself is, once again, that bit of a self-assessment. Have a look at the information you put out. Have a look at, for example, your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook profile, for a range of other things as well. People look at your brand, as I said, that moment of truth. Any interaction they have with your, with your brand. That's going to be if they're out having a cup of coffee with you, reviewing your LinkedIn profile, reviewing your website, or reviewing an email or a summary advice piece that you're putting out. So definitely, how we present, everything from spell, grammar, pride in your appearance, to what you're doing from that, putting out and sharing your opinions and your information. That's all about positioning yourself. So take that open view and self-critical, like your type view, for what type of branding and how you're positioning yourself within the market. And that's definitely something as well that takes some continual focus and some hard work as well. Tip 8, and this is one I'll expand on and spend a bit of time on, because I've allowed myself a fair bit of time to expand on these elements, is when dealing with clients, regardless of the client, sell to their needs and not to your interests. So I'll expand on this, and I kept a bit of time aside for this, because this is a pitfall that happens within our industry. And quite often can actually happen for people that have followed some of these earlier tips, that have expanded their knowledge, that have gone through and they're across what's the brand new technology coming out, what's the brand new, like a methodology and best practice that comes out, what's the new focal point that we have. And so what happens is, because it's something that we read and we're excited about, and we think this is fantastic, we try and push, in essence, our own agenda or our interests and focal points as to what we think clients need, without doing that complete mapping piece. Now, when I say complete mapping piece, one of the final points I'll end with the webinar is about how you immerse yourself in a client's world, making sure that what you're putting forward has some alignment, not only with their security risk, but with their mission and values. Now, when it comes to selling to their needs and making sure it's not just to your interests, I've fallen in this trap myself previously, because of the fact that, I suppose, my profile within the industry, I'm quite regularly, I get sent information on brand new products, brand new security methods within the industry, and people asking for my feedback on that. often sending out equipment saying, can I test the equipment and provide some feedback on the workability and how effective it may be as part of a security solution. So I've had times where I've got caught up in with this, where I've seen products, and a couple of ones offhand will be UVI, a company in Israel, released an under vehicle camera, which in essence can get installed on your driveway. From driving over this car, even at, from memory, 45 kilometers an hour, within 3 seconds, it takes 2,500 images and makes a 3D under vehicle scan of that vehicle, provides and maps against the manufacturer's database of that vehicle, and will let you know if there's any unusual devices or elements under there. That coupled with the product, the data miner, like you put out about social media security monitoring, like, yeah, so a couple of these type products, as I became aware of them, in my opinion, are close to industry-changing products. They are absolutely fantastic with what they're able to do. So they become top of mind, like, to me. And then when I was out seeing clients, I'd say, oh, look, okay, I know we're here to speak to you about this, but look, to enhance you, and improve your security, I believe you need to focus on these products. And we do get caught up in that. And part of that is, with that mapping case, making sure you're selling to your client's needs and not your interests, as I said, with the title with that slide. A key point that we have with that, an expansion point, will be on that technology versus training and people. Yes, our industry is 100%, there's an evolution there, and key parts with our industry from the technology point of view are advancing rapidly. I've been in meetings and business development meetings where myself and other people have been liaising with clients, and we've gone into that meeting, and part of with the focal point from one of the people attending the meeting with me may have been on new technology and focusing on, okay, well, part of with this is we've looked at your business, and by the way, we can change what you're doing through the use of effective information, CCTV, gathering of information, changing your response methodology. We can change this, we can focus on this, we can save you some labor, cut people's jobs in these elements, and give you what we feel is a better solution through effective technology. One of the things that wasn't picked up during that meeting is, as we started talking technology, was the person that were having the meeting, there was a shift in their body language. You could see that we'd lost them as part of during that discussion. So what happened was we actually, I changed that back and put it to the focus on training and people, and the person ended the discussion with saying, look, the technology sounds great. Yep, I know that's happening and evolving, but our values in our business, we focus on people and training and development. And so that's exactly something that had happened. Part of from reviewing the business model, we'd gone and started saying to where we think our interest and focal point and benefit can be, and probably hadn't given enough of an initial focus or a review of that client to see really where their focal point and their values were. And it was all about people and ongoing training and development. Now, don't get me wrong, when the conversation changed to that point and we talked about the training piece and what we can do for rounding off their skill sets on everything from enhancing situational awareness to providing risk mitigation and management, like you're training to their people, to conflict identification and a range of other parts, we had the right solution. But the initial focal point, the spear point on the communication we're having with them, was definitely in line with our interests and vision as to where we saw their organization, not in line with part of their vision. So these sort of things are learning points that I think as security professionals, as we go through our time within the industry, happens to all of us. And that's why hopefully from sharing some of these tips and points, people can learn from previous mistakes that I've made and others have made, and do that as well. As I said, from the consulting piece, be aware of their mission and values and from the alignment point of view, and definitely make sure you're validating. So as you're giving some information, before you get caught into 30 minutes of sharing your tips and opinions as to where you think it should be, ask those questions, making sure that you're on the right path as you're providing that information as well, which is very, very important. The other part is obviously, like if with that then, so I suppose the summary point is this, is that research your client fully. If you're a security professional, before I go out and I meet with any client, one of the key things that I do, and I suppose that because I've learned from my previous mistakes, is I research them fully. I review their organization, make sure that I'm across their values and their mission as well. I'm definitely review any previous media on the client. For the key people that I'm meeting, I'll do some social media review and profiling to see on LinkedIn if there's any key interests, key focal points, articles that they've read across, that I may be able to refer to during parts of the discussions as well, whether that's from the sales and marketing type meetings or advisory type as well. Because part of with it is sometimes some of the things that we do as security professionals can be very, very confronting to the people that we're dealing with on multiple levels. One is about the fact that we need to provide them information and overcoming on, for what I like to call, store blindness. People look at their own business and their own organizations in a different way. And part of what we do is we're providing some sometimes confronting information that causes them to reevaluate some of the things that they have, of the opinions they have on their business. Part of, like, for the other point I'd say to this as well with selling to their needs and not just their interests is, don't put all your eggs into one basket with a solution that you're putting forward. So as you're having that discussion with clients, if you're seeing that change in body language and a range of others, make sure that you've researched thoroughly and have like different elements and contingent solutions to putting forward for them as well. You don't want to get caught up in that trap. So you definitely take your time, making sure you're researching your client at its base level. And for the people, if there's any of the people that are on, are going to listen to the webinar, I suppose, from the security business development piece, my social media profiling and review of potential clients before I meet with them goes right down to even identifying from a personal point of view on how they communicate for the sales and rapport building tips and techniques. Examples may be for, I'll give you a real example. I was going to go out and meet with a potential client that was a group manager for a large group of licensed premises, delivering services there, and wanted to get some security advice and services from me. As part of that review, I'd reviewed the company, organization, and values. I'd reviewed the person I was meeting with, all their social media. And a point I picked up from there during that time, for example, was that the lady in this role, in essence, where it had been previously a male-dominated type industry, had identified from some of the content, verbiage, appearance, and style of dress on certain key motivational points that I should mention and bring up in regards to about respecting and providing the respect and awareness of the work that she had conducted. And because I took such a thorough approach with that, obviously got the outcome that I'd wanted to achieve. So definitely do that review at every type of level when you're dealing with every client. The other part as well that I'd say about for selling to their needs and not your interests, part of selling to their needs is be upfront as well, and I have with any new client what I like to call the like and dislike meeting. What I mean by that like and dislike meeting is speaking to them and saying, can I get some feedback on previous service and providers? What did you like or dislike about their services? You'll find that quite often than not, it's something that sometimes as security professionals, we don't ask those type of questions. But if you ask that information, clients can be very forthcoming with information. Hey, I like this company was good about these elements, but here's some of the gaps that I'd like to close up. And some of those final 1%ers can help round off your service offering as well. So hopefully that you've got some benefit from that. Number 9 is about having a longer term vision. So when I say the longer term vision, you can see the line I put there. You can shear a sheep many times, or you can only barbecue it once. People go in if they get for service delivery, and especially in the electronic security field, where people are asked for some advice on CCTV, access control, and a range of others. And people will come in and say, well, based on from my review with your business and what the previous people have done, we need to do a whole new install. We need to do brand new equipment, new cabling, and for the whole lot. A couple of things with that. True security professionals want to work with their clients to give the best possible solution and hit all their right buttons. That includes working within their budget, approval limits, and longer term vision as well. So if you're in the electronic security field, as you can see, as I said, that you can shear a sheep many times. You want to have a regular ongoing client you can get that revenue stream from, not that one install. You want to be able to get the ongoing preventive maintenance and a range of other things. So part of that being a security professional is having a look at what they've got. If there's equipment that you can make the most of and have that controlled expenditure and that spending roadmap, then do that. The clients are going to greatly appreciate that. And you've got a long-term client that knows you've been transparent and ethical with your dealings with them. The other part as well is understand that the solutions you put in today, you don't want to reduce tomorrow's options. And that's why you want to work with clients on that longer term vision to make sure that the work that you're doing is palatable to their organization. And I'm going to say, for example, if you're putting out new operating procedures, new cash management framework, new access control procedures, make sure that that what you're putting out is firstly in verbiage that's going to be that can be understood by the people within that organization, but also make sure, as I said, you don't cut off those longer term options as well. And that's why it's very important to work with clients on that collaborative basis to really develop and have that strategic view. So that's, I suppose, another fundamental error that I see within our industry is that sometimes when we're dealing with clients, we come in and play that save you type role. Oh, look, previously the people have done this type of install. That's really not how things should have been done. So you need to get a whole new install, but it's okay, I can save you. And so we put out another 30, 40, 50, $150,000 solution to the clients on lighting, CCTV, and a range of other things, where realistically 50 to 60% of the equipment could have been reused and had that controlled expenditure. So definitely align with them on that longer term vision piece. I think is very, very important as well from an honest and ethical point of view. The final point before we go into a summary, and then we'll add some time, some questions, is about really immersing yourself in their world. I mentioned to you earlier about overcoming what I say, your for-store blindness. Look, I'll give you another example of that. Is probably the best way. Part of it with that, I was asked to do some security consulting for a client that was a beer brewery, and part of it with that, they said we've got some concerns with theft and a range of other things. When I organised to go to site, they gave me the details for where to park, and as soon as I arrived within their car park, I saw in the staff car park there was quite a large hole that had been cut in the chainmail fence. Look in the wire fence between the staff car park and the kegging area. So as I was doing my initial review, as I'm sure we all do within the industry, as I'm approaching the building, I'm looking at the fences, I'm looking at the CCTV, looking at the sight lines. They're a bit of a CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design type review, looking at the lighting and a range of other things. Within within being on site for 2 minutes, I asked my contact, can I just ask you a question? The large hole that you had in your fence there from between the staff car park and the kegging type area, is that something that's just happened? What are we doing about fixing that? And the response was, that's been there for years. So as soon as we'd remedied that fence as part of the solution and a range of others, the staff there, the theft that had been happening reduced dramatically, in essence, overnight. But from their point of view, it had been something with their environment that they had that store blindness. And so part of what we need to do in immersing yourself in their world is understanding from that advisory piece as well, is that from the client's point of view, understand the business through their eyes and let them see it through yours. Do that walk around with them and say, look, okay, let's have a look at your business. Okay, have a look at things from my point of view. I've had licensed premise clients where I'm walking around and giving them some advice on improving and target hardening that site. And I'll say to them, I've got some concerns about for your maintenance type areas and your back of house type areas. And they'll say, yeah, but that's not our focal point. Here's what we're doing with the bars and lighting and things as well. And they haven't understood that if somebody's looking to break into their premises or hide in specific areas, they're going to look for the areas that look low maintained, low lighting, and a range of others. So part of what we need to do as security professionals is to advise clients and educate them, firstly, as to why they need different elements of your services or within the industry. And obviously expand that point to give them in a non-confrontational manner. And some clients can find this very confronting because, as I said, you're changing their opinion, and in essence, you're going to point out some things that realistically we believe that they should have already known. So part of that, immersing yourself in their world, is definitely learn from previous mistakes. Make sure that what you're putting forward is in alignment with their values and mission as well, and help for that education piece. Truly understand that realistically, anything you're going to be putting forward for a security solution needs to be underpinned by operational effectiveness, and as I said, also that value alignment, which I think is crucial. So that's it in regards to with the tips for putting forward. From a summary point of view, as I said, I think it's crucial to keep top of mind that whoever's working within the security industry, it's a key position of trust. I deliver seminars and educational seminars on a range of elements, and I ask people what their role is or what they do, and people say to me, I'm just a security guard. And my response to that is to say, well, in different circumstances. You're looking after multi-million-dollar assets and premises, looking after people's most important assets, you know, their family and duty of care for their safety and well-being. You've got to have legislative awareness. You've got to have conflict identification and resolution skills, regardless of the type of role that you have. So for anybody on the webinar, anybody that listens to this video, please don't underestimate the importance as to what we do within the industry. It is such a key position of trust that people just don't stop and think. The second part is, you know, continue that self-analysis and update your self-development plan. Just so you know, from my point of view, I make Google Calendar appointments with myself as to when I'm going to be doing my RSS feed and content review, and also reading my books. So I've got that appointment. I have that firm commitment with myself to making sure I'm continuing my development. So really take ownership of your journey, position yourself. People get jaded when they're in industry sometimes saying, I can't understand why this person got that job over me or got that consulting job over me. And then when I asked them for some specific feedback and said, what did you do to position yourself? What did you do about enhancing your awareness and your education and development? And they say, I've been in the industry for 7 or 8 years. It takes continual hard work. So for the people on that journey, I said it's an incredibly rewarding industry, but just keep that education and development piece going. I think it's very, very important. As I said, track and monitor the industry trends, I think, is another important point. So being across the industry associations and the various feeds, I think, is another important point. So thank you very much for the opportunity for presenting this webinar. For the people listening and that listen to the follow-up YouTube video, I think it gets loaded to. I hope it's been a benefit. Please feel free to source me out on LinkedIn and reach out. I'm always happy to deal with like-minded professionals and share information with people on that development journey. So I'm going to hand you over to, you're back now to Ardian now, who's going to take you through some final slides. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott, for delivering this very informative presentation. I would like to inform the audience that PCB provides training and certification services for ISO 27001 Introduction, Foundation, Lead Implementer, and Lead Auditor. A PCB certificate in these above-mentioned courses will exemplify your dedication in implementing and managing these processes and frameworks, and most importantly, you will be recognized worldwide and be a successful security professional. Now, we'll go ahead and take some time to answer some of the questions from the attendees regarding today's session. First question is, what is one different challenge for a security professional in 2019 that didn't exist in 2018?
I believe the education piece is a big one. If I talk about the industry trends and how that's really developing, I believe our end user clients are becoming more educated about the benefits of the relationships with security professionals. I've seen more indication of this in the last 3 or 4 months than I have probably in the last 3 or 4 years combined. So the unique challenge at the moment, I think, that we have in the industry is that our clients are becoming more educated as to the full scope of services that they can obtain and the relationships they can develop with security professionals. And so that really reiterates the need and the importance for making sure that we stay educated and stay at the front line, of awareness with best practice techniques and others. I truly feel that there's been a massive ramp up with this, whether it be about the increase in terrorist incidents, be about the increase of media and social media and a range of others, but definitely our clients are getting more educated as to that scope. And so we need to be more educated to be able to give them that higher level service.
Thank you, Scott. We have another interesting question, but before going to that one, I would like to encourage the audience to ask questions, as we will ask them to our presenters directly. So the second question is, what can a security professional do to understand the social risk, as it seems to be the most disturbing and everlasting problem in the future?
And that's a great question. In regards to with the social risk, and in that point, if we can clarify if they're saying about with the social media security elements and the risk attached to that, I'll respond in that path. And if you get any follow-up information to let me know, just to confirm if that's the right path, that would be great. From the social concerns and social media concerns is another point. Everything from the radicalization of people on social media, through to the sharing of information and the concerns about with people who bring your own device to work and a range of related elements. there's a large number of concerns with that, and I suppose that there's multiple fronts with it. One being about the fact, like you're from with that control of information, what are we doing for using social media for its good and for benefit? Identifying the control factors with it. I'd say once again the key part with the social media security and how do we manage that is the ongoing education and development piece, sharing some information with that and starting education at the grassroots level. I've developed and share information in courses, for example, everywhere from schooling through to corporates on effective social media security. And I believe that people would be absolutely shocked at the lack of awareness that people have with regards to what type of data and information that they share. The other point is, be aware as well from the social media security that it can be used for some fantastic good. I mean, there is numerous examples. For example, Soundwave concert in 2016, a person threw a flare into a concert that severely burnt a young girl. The promoter put on social media and said, whoever can give me information and pictures of the person that did this is going to be treated like a VIP for the next couple of concerts. Within 22 minutes, he had 144 different photographs and videos of the person doing a range of information. Organizations like Data Miner as well, that actually have live feeds, they're able to provide information using effective social media technology, because if something happens, the first thing people do is go to social media. So when there was the incident around the Eiffel Tower, active assailant incident, or the Barcelona situation as well, they're able to advise their members of situations occurring sometimes 15 to 20 minutes before news and first responders. So the big thing is around social media, the education piece, understand the benefits, but also with the risks and share that information, I think is the key focal point for how we manage that risk.
Thank you, Scott. There are a lot of questions coming in. We have also one about what are the biggest cyber threats to watch out for 2019, but in 2 weeks we will have another webinar session for this. So tune in and register for that webinar. Another question, and because of the time limitation, we will conclude the presentation with this question. It says, what are the basic skills for the beginners in IT field or like in cybersecurity? So let's say if you can get a quick tip about a beginner in cybersecurity, what are the quickest tips for that individual to move forward towards the new challenges?
Sure. With the training and development piece, with people focusing on cybersecurity, and obviously that's another key trend in regards to with the focal point and from a client request point of view. Surprisingly, the tip that I'm going to give you from cybersecurity and the focal point would be focus on more effectively the communication skills as to how you're going to identify and manage the communication with the clients. From the actual tips and intelligence, like your point of view and training point of view, look, there's some fantastic programs in industry associations in alignment with that share information. And as mentioned, obviously, like your ARDI, the upcoming webinars that you guys are running with related elements as well. But the points when it comes to with cybersecurity is about how we manage that. So be aware from the business functionality point of view. Unfortunately, from within our industry, there's not enough focus about how we can use security to continually enable the clients. We focus on what we need to cut out based on what the identified threats are. So what the key tip will be, focus on the enablers. Be aware about and focus on improving your skills to make sure that the advice you're giving is going to not hinder operational effectiveness within an organization. Because regardless on identifying the threats, putting the right methodology in place, adjusting the IT frameworks, the practices, and those sort of things, there's a lot of great information and programs out there, but I don't believe that there's effective communication on how to round off your identification and communication skills on that mapping piece and alignment with individual organizations to make sure it's not affecting their operational effectiveness. And that's something that I think, it requires some dedicated focus.
Thank you, Scott. We have another question, which I believe I will answer. So it says, which are some of the top certifications for information security professionals? As I mentioned before going in the Q&A session, some of the most top certifications for information security professionals are also standing right before you. You have the ISO 27001 Information Security Introduction, you have the Foundation, you have if you have more experience, and when you gain more experience, you had the lead implementer and also the lead auditor course. If you would like to get more information on these courses or any other course, you can write me an email at marketing.ism@pecb.com, and I'll get back to you with more information. With that, I will conclude the presentation, and I would like to thank Scott for this great presentation and this great Q&A session, and also thank everyone here for attending today's webinar. This was our first webinar session for 2019, and you can expect many more sessions with many more trending topics. Also, once more, this session will be recorded and posted on our website as well as on our YouTube channel along with the slides of the presentation. If you would like to get more information, please visit our website www.pecb.com. Thank you all and have a great day.